Very warm welcome and good morning to all of you. It's really a case of massive pleasure for me and an honor indeed together to be able to present the third session of the reflection lane. So, good morning, greetings for the day. Welcome one and all of you to this session today on the reflection lane. With a lot of gratitude and humility. It's a great opportunity for me to present the reflection lane. So welcome once again. We'll kick it off in the interest of time while I try to manage the people who are trying to join in a little later. So reflections, a simple yet wonderful phenomenon we all witness at different points of time, sometimes very closely, sometimes completely amiss. A beautiful reflection of a tree on a river, of ourselves in a mirror, or of bright light through a glittering surface definitely creates a shift of some sort within us. The reflection lane is an initiative where we all come together and reflect on our life. As I say, it is a 1 hour, once a month opportunity for us to acknowledge where we are, what we have, and also review how we can progress from here onwards forward. So we are all rightly in the hustle and bustle lane. We call it the hustle and bustle lane, where we are working, we are busy, we are our routine every day. Rightly in the hustle and bustle lane is what I was saying, to aid our priorities in some form or shape. And there is nothing absolutely wrong in that, but when we get sucked into our priorities, when we sucked into that lane a little too much, it starts becoming pressurizing, it starts becoming inconvenient. So this reflection lane is sort of a pit stop while we are on our best of our Formula One cars. They also need a pit stop, and this is sort of a pit stop that provides an opportunity for us to pause, check, upgrade if required, and get back into our routine. The format is one of a dialogue where, based on one concept that I am going to introduce, I will share my thoughts and experiences. And then we come together and share our thoughts together on the same topic. At the end, we all reflect together. We have an opportunity to reflect together and maybe churn out some takeaways that we can go back and apply into our individual lives. There is a reason we do it on the third week of every month, because it sort of mentally helps us to know that we are close to the end of this month, which means how can I gear up myself. And also it is the right time for us to maybe look back at the month that went by and seeing what changes, how could I have made something different, and how. So that's what this reflection lane is about. If it is not a huge problem for all of you, I would request you all to come on video so that you are present with yourself and you are present with the entire gang. And as somebody who's speaking here, it gives me a lot more motivation to actually look at the faces to the names that are over here. So if it is a possibility, please do come on video. Thank you very much. Thanks for the response. I'm Raghavan. I'm a certified coach, a skill trainer, and a motivational speaker. Through the role of a coach and a fellow human being, I intend to enable people, organizations, and institutions towards a state of progress and holistic satisfaction. So in my role here, as much as a facilitator, I would like to sort of say that I'm also a learner here. I am looking to see if I can probably get something out of this as equally as all of you are looking to sort of, look for something that to reflect upon. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I think it's time for me to introduce the topic for the day. So are we all ready for today's topic and go into the reflection lane, cruise through the reflection lane? Thank you. Thanks for the heads up. Thanks for the nods. Thank you. So today's topic of discussion, as I had mentioned, if you all remember, when I put the post out on LinkedIn or on Insta or Facebook, I said is very pivotal. We are going to talk about something very pivotal. And we all know, right, when there is something central or pivotal to our life or our profession, personal life, whatever it may be, it is also something that is very important. right? Obviously, we are going to talk about something that is of a lot of importance. And if we actually take a step back and reflect, a lot of important things in our life are sometimes probably just brushed away as common things. It's evident from the last two reflection lane sessions we've had also, right? We spoke about control the last time, and we saw how much of a role control can play, uncontrollable and controllable factors can play. Today, we are talking about something very central, right? So let's say, for example, shooting as a sport, right? So there is a board, there are like circles, 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 and circles, and there is one dot in between which you have to aim at and hit, right? The person who gets that is the winner, right? Now, if that it is as simple as that to get to the center, why is it really being played as a competitive sport, right? Because what happens is, if you look at it as, okay, I just need to get to the center of the board, that is one part of the larger equation that we are all in. It depends on the position that you're standing in. It depends on the weight of the gun that is there on your shoulder. It is the vision that you have through the small hole and the V shape to the target. Lifting the gun a little bit to ensure that after you've seen the target, you're hitting exactly where you have to. The wind that plays a role, the noise that plays a role, and there are distractions of people cheering, booing, whatever it may be around you talking, all of those things, and the concentration that is required of the mind to really hit the bullseye. That's why it is a sport. So what am I trying to say through this is that anything that is central or pivotal to our life, there is a lot of, like chaos around it. And that chaos does not allow us to get to that central part of our life, that actually drives a lot of our actions, drives a lot of our experiences. And one such pivotal point of life, which is what I'm going to talk about over here, which we have to realize completely, is called values, right? Every individual, irrespective of the number of years of experience they have, I think, and especially this group is somebody who's got, relatively a very critical amount of experience from what I have seen. We are all driven by values, isn't it? There are some set of values that we all are driven by. We all kind of, hold that central to our entire existence, to our actions, don't we? Yes or no? Just raise your hand if you agree with it, right? We all have values, yes, right? We all agree to that. But now let's take a step back. What is a value, right? What do we mean by values? Anybody? What do we think values are all about?
Core principles.
Core principles
stick by.
that we stick by. Okay. Anything else? Core principles we stick by. Any other thoughts?
For me, Raghavan, it's way how we should be living.
The way how we should be living. Thank you. Thanks very much, Shalini, for sharing. All right, so just moving very quickly, right? So it's about principles that we want to stick on to, way in which I want to live. Can we take an example? What is the first example that comes to our mind? Generally, not necessarily a value that you are living by or not, but generally when we say values, what comes to our mind?
Honesty, integrity.
Honesty, integrity. Wow, thank you. I mean, somewhere, it feels like I just had a screenplay in mind and it is playing out exactly that way. So yes, honesty, right? And yes, it is a value, no doubt about that. And now I'm going to pose a question, and all of us pretty much relate to the value of honesty, right? Yes or no? We all relate to the value of honesty, right? Okay. So can we, and you don't have to answer this to me. Can you sort of just go back into memory and look at the most latest situation where you were not honest? You don't have to answer, but as long as you're getting an answer to yourself. It could have been a point where you just skipped the queue. It could have been where, we were caught by a police officer and we tried to get away without paying a fine or a penalty. It could be about where, you wanted something to be done in an organization and you pull some strings so that you can have an advantage over the other. Right? I mean, these are people who live by the values of honesty, integrity, and all of those things, right? But what happened to that value at that point when you thought that, or when I thought that I have to pay that bribe to somebody, to just get away right now? I don't want to really pay a penalty. When I wanted to skip the queue to my advantage compared to somebody else's disadvantage. Can we all relate to something like this? Has happened before, sometime, somewhere, or have seen that happening? Yes, no? Yeah, we can relate, right? So yeah, but I'm not trying to call, and I'm nobody to judge here, right? And I don't go into the habit of judging as much. Is that I'm not calling anybody dishonest here. We're all honest. If somebody has to ask, are you an honest person? The answer is obviously yes, right? And we said honesty is a value. But then what happens to that value certain times when we are not able to practice it? Does that mean that it's not a guiding principle for me? Does that mean that I did not live my life based on what principles I wanted to live at that moment? And is it okay? Let's reflect upon that. And that's where I want to move forward. And I'm going to introduce some strong words in today's session. And obviously we'll sort of look at it other. The one word I've already introduced is values. And now what happens is that, yes, we have the textbook answers of honesty, integrity, helpful nature, all of those things. And guys, it is something that we are all taught about. We are all sort of, fed through at home. We are all fed in schools, in institutions and all that. But over a period of time, when we go through those experiences of life, right? Because, for that example, if I have to say, a person giving a bribe and the person taking the bribe, both of them are sort of were taught about honesty. It's not just about giving, right? It's about taking. And the person who is probably helping you skip the queue by giving you an offer against somebody else, putting somebody at a disadvantage, was also fed values of honesty, integrity, and other things at home when the mother was feeding that person. Or in school, they went to a standard school where the same mathematics that we studied, they studied, same geography, same sociology, everything. And also, habits. No school today or institution today teaches people to be bad. No household teaches anybody to be bad or dishonest, isn't it? And that is where I want to introduce you to a new term, in terms of what is there. What is pivotal? We think values are pivotal to driving our life. Values are pivotal to progress in our life. Values are pivotal to how I live my life. Actually, what is pivotal is values that actually serve you. And the term I'm introducing here is serve. Values that serve us is what is the driving factor for us in life. At that moment when we wanted to skip the queue, honesty as a value did not serve us. And that's absolutely fine. We don't have to be too brutal and rude with us. It's a different conversation whether it is right or wrong or whatever it may be. What I'm trying to say is, as we gain more experience in life, as we kind of gain more maturity in life and work or general life experience, where we need to move, we are somewhere stuck in the old place of values that are taught at home, which is absolutely fine. But then we have gone out, seen the world, we've had experiences. And as we kind of go through experiences, there are some values that serve us and some values that don't serve us. And what is pivotal to living the life that the way I want to live? What is pivotal to the guiding principles of life, which values are, is not just the values. What is there in the bullseye over there, right in between, is actually values that serve me, right? That's what becomes really important than just values. In a lot of ways, like as I said, there are a lot of distractions when you're looking at that board, when you're trying to shoot. Trust me, the generic number of values are also a distraction. And what happens is we are not able to segregate between values that serve us versus values that are not serving us. And we are somewhere fooling ourselves by saying that I need to live by this value because I want to be right in the eyes of somebody else, even though it does not serve me. Right? So let me just share with you very quickly something that I have for today. And what we have seen till now is that yes, values are important, but what's more important is that we need to start filtering those values and everything that we have to really identify values that serve me. And this requires some reflection. This requires for people to really sit back. And it is pivotal to life. It is pivotal to your own happiness, to the happiness of your surroundings, is to really understand what are the values that serve me. Or is it the textbook answers that I want to live life by, which is integrity, honesty, helpful nature, serving people, or whatever it may be, right? These may be certain difficult things. This may put some of us into an awkward situation. But then it is important for us to understand what are the values that actually serve us. And let me give you one example, right, that I had myself. And this was not a realization that I had through what it was. And the reason I'm taking my example is because that's the closest thing I can relate to easily. That's why I'm sharing it, right? Is that I used to be always in a, like, because in my experience, I used to manage or help manage my dad's business. And our dad's business was a lot about, distribution business. So it was a lot of physical work. It was a lot of, stock coming through. And I'm sort of, trying to load vehicles, going, selling, you look at the cash, we deposit the cash in the bank, right? And as I did it for about 2-3 years, during my days of graduation, somewhere a value of tangibleness, came into my mind, something tangible. So for me, it was about tangibles, right? Progress meant tangible. Turnover increased, stock, sales increased. So I could see like stock coming in, going out, money coming in, getting deposited, paying the creditors, making some profits, all of those things. So it was a lot about tangibles. Flip, immediately I joined the service industry, and I was in the investment banking industry for 15 years. And for a very long time, even though there was a lot of recognition outside about what has been achieved, oh, you're doing a great job as an analyst, you're doing a great job as a team leader, you're doing a great job as an associate, and blah, and blah, and blah. It took me a few years to really act, what the hell am I doing? Because I am not able to really relate to those success factors. I'm not able to relate to those results and say that, yeah, it happened, right? Not really with a sense of maturity that I'm talking right now that it happened, but I told myself that, what, I'm probably stuck in my past that, like anything progressive means it has to be tangible. I am in the service industry now, so there is no product necessarily that I'm able to see, feel, touch, and spread out. So I have to come to terms with the fact that my results are going to be intangible. I had to move from the value of tangible results to intangible results. And from the time I started doing that, I saw that my contribution towards it increased because I was able to relate to relate to things that I was able to see. Right? This is a simple example that I wanted to provide. And what I think is very important is for us to understand that, yes, while we are speaking a lot about values, let's not just spread ourselves out thin and think that, like I'm leading a very, like sensible life because there are a lot of values, and every value that I see everywhere, I'm, oh yeah, that is me, that is me, that is me. You can relate with a lot of values, but there are only 1 or 2 values that are serving you at this point of time. It's not a laundry list. Our values are not a laundry list. It's basically 1, 2, maximum 3. And believe me, it's a long journey, and I'm not telling I'm there, even I am in that journey. Going from 100 to 3 is much longer and takes much more time than going from 3 to 100. Because if I have to say each one of us, we are about 15, 16, 20 people in this meeting room. If each of us can tell 3 values each, we can tell 3 distinct values, and we can come up with 60 values. But how many of those 60 values really serve us? It will take you a long time to really figure that out. But we have to take that. We have to make some practices, and I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to not going to talk about what practices we have to make. And that's where I want to open it up over here, because what serves me as a practice need not necessarily serve you. Because if I tell you what is serving me, I'm probably speaking from my ego, and I want that to serve you, and I don't want my ego to serve you. But I would like to open it up at this point to just know what's running in your mind, what reflections you have of from moving from values to values that serve me. Open to all.
Let me chip in. Okay, sorry.
Okay,
I'm
go on,
happy
go
to.
on, go on.
No,
Go
no.
on.
I'll wait.
Oh,
I'll
I'll decide. Okay, Naveen, go ahead.
Okay, thanks, Michael. So, Rahman, it's all like how to identify in this sense to what value serves us. I know, like it's as you rightly mentioned, it's individual to individual. One value that serves me may not like it serves other. But what should be, I mean, the let's say first step towards it to actually find like what actually serves me. And when I say this serves me, it's not like the 10 value I'm telling you over this meeting or somewhere else, okay, these are my value. But actually, like, what should be my first step towards to identify, okay, what is like serving? It's gonna be like some practice or some hit and trial, and what it is like. Can you little bit help me so that would be great. Thanks.
Yeah, we'll figure out. We'll see what it is, Naveen. As I said, if I tell you what the practice has to be, and if you go and practice that, and if it doesn't work for you, then it is of no use, right? I can share some things, but we will go to that to the later part, because I'm looking to introduce another term also that is required, and then maybe it will strike us as to how we can do
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
So let's pause. But at least I'm glad that you're thinking one step ahead already to know how do I start practicing it, which means you're acknowledging that yes, values that serve me are important. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks.
Vikas.
No, I was just going on the original point that we made, right? And the first thing, as soon as you talk about values, honesty, and integrity, and the most idealistic kind of values come to the fore, and we try to kind of relate ourselves and project ourselves to be the idealist, though the world and situations around it doesn't necessarily serve that virtue that we want to follow in our life, right? But just taking a step back, right? Frankly, when I did kind of come up with that example, and it was just kind of the textbook answer that you were looking for probably to kick off the conversation, and that's by instinct we would come back with that. But to be honest, and this is more to share my view and my kind of working around this concept, because I choose to believe that I'm very kind of bound by principle person and like to stick to it. But I believe I have created a framework for myself within which I operate, and that framework is not a virtue or a principle or a value, but is more of a phrase, and that kind of resonated with me in the childhood itself, which was about don't do things unto others that you wouldn't want others to do to you, right? And that framework would allow me to make those judgment calls, whether me doing this at this point, is it harming someone else? If it is not, and if it is still serving me, it is fine to do. Probably right or wrong, I'm not kind of going to judge that, right? It's that framework, and sometimes I miss doing that at the time when I'm doing that action, and might use it as something that I would reflect on when I'm looking through that frame and that window to say, was that right? Should I continue to do that, or should I kind of mend my ways around it? But this framework really helps, because and it helps me frankly to kind of stick within that boundary, and try not to kind of get into someone else's path, because that's where you feel somewhere the guilt or the and somewhere and again, this is something we strive to do, will not probably 100% achieve throughout our lifetime, but at least that guiding principle, that guiding star is there to tell you that let's follow this path. And that's the thought I wanted to bring forward to today's discussion, maybe.
Thank you very much, Vikas, and that serves you, right? Can you just repeat that very slowly? You went very fast, and it's about me, others, me. So
and I might be
framework.
saying it wrong, and it was from a textbook or a lesson within school when in primary school, which was don't do things unto others that you wouldn't want others to do unto you, right? So I wouldn't want to be treated badly or humiliated in front of 10 other people, so I shouldn't be doing the same thing, because
Right.
I wouldn't want that to happen to me. So obviously I shouldn't be doing, because that's the kind of platform that helps me kind of look at myself, reflect at myself, and probably operate within that
Okay.
framework.
So for you, what serves is a framework. Beautiful, beautiful, and you're holding it up since primary school. That's fantastic. And
That's
as
when I
said,
heard. Probably it became more relevant as I grew, but
correct.
it's stuck on. Yeah.
Correct, correct. And we'll move to that very soon, right? We will kind of look at a cycle very soon, shortly. Thanks for sharing with us. That's really very enlightening. And I hope, Naveen, that's sort of helping you reflect, right, with what Vikas has said. Maybe it is, maybe it is not. And for others also. Any other thoughts? Anybody else? Feel free to sort of chime in. There is no right or wrong answer. You can also disagree with what I have said. I am not the authority in anything, right? Zero. So don't think that what I say is actually right. So if you have a different school of thought, please bring it in. Or if there's anything else you want to contribute, let's reflect together.
So, hi Raghavan, Sukanya here. For me, the value is the education and wisdom. So when I say wisdom, it's the quality of being wise. So every situation comes up in a very different way. So we come across a lot of people around us where we feel that okay, each one of them are different. So if I have to get served, so for me, it is like serving them in the first place become more important.
Okay.
So understanding what they want is a way making, or it's a room where I'm creating for them to understand me, so that I get served. So for me, education and wisdom both act in a very equal way, because when I say education, yes, it's always a textbook answers. And when I say wisdom, it's always the quality of the thought or like how we think, how wise we think, and how we take up the situation and bring it on. So that is what I feel the value is.
That serves you.
Yes.
Right. So I'm stressing on the point of serves you because what happens is our mind sort of plays games with us, and even though we talk and we are from a country where we talk a lot, and when we keep talking and using these words, right, it's actually making impressions. So when we say a value and leave it there, we think it's a general value, but when we say it's a value that serves us, that makes a difference. And thank you, Sukanya. That's actually a very beautiful word, the way you put it across, and gave a different perspective to education itself, right? The way you look at education, because as you said, when you say education, we think of only degrees. We may think of sitting in a classroom, and we may think of numbers and whatnot. But the way you perceive that and how that serves you is what is making a difference, which is really great. Thank you. Thanks a lot for sharing, Sukanya. Anybody else? Maybe one last thought, or one reflection. We could go with one or two reflections before we can move forward.
Hi Raghavan, it's Kriti.
Hi, Kriti.
I'll just share my thought, what I have been thinking since you started speaking about it. So the thing is that, which I believe, that there's no specific rule in life which we follow throughout our life to have a peaceful or good life. But since you were speaking about that shooting as sport, and you said that there are multiple factors while we are doing it, so air, volume, sound, and everything. So we keep on changing how we hit our target, right, based on our specific factors which we have around us. So I think that there's no specific value which will be good or which will serve us. One thing which has worked for me is, like, when I started, when I was a child, there were specific values, and we have been taught that you need to follow this. But slowly and gradually, I felt that being honest with ourselves is one particular thing which will be very peaceful for us. Like, rather than being honest to the world, it's very uh, good or important to be honest with ourselves. And then following that particular thing, which is giving peace at the end of the day to yourself. And simultaneously, whatever you are doing, it has to give that peace of mind to yourself while you are sleeping, right? It shouldn't be bad for anyone, but at the same time, it should be good for yourself. So for me, it's just to be honest with yourself first.
Okay, great. Very, very strong thoughts. Thanks for sharing it and putting it across very clearly, Kriti, because this is something that when I speak to people, right, and as a coach, when I'm interacting with some of my clients at an individual level, self-love is somewhere being defined as being selfish, and that's not true. Self-care is not being selfishness. Being honest to myself first, and then kind of looking at if I am looking or not looking honest on the other side is absolutely fine, as long as I'm not hurting somebody. Somebody said that in their opinion, I know what values is important to them is as long as they're not hurting somebody directly or indirectly. Something very similar to what Vikas also alluded to. But yeah, as long as we are honest to ourselves, and sometimes that may not resonate in the way you want somebody to perceive you, and it's about whether you're okay for that. If you're not okay with that, then probably that value is still not serving you, of being honest to yourself. And if it is serving you, then that's what it is. You have to stand by that. The problem is, as you said, we have a textbook definition of values, and given to us when we were fed at home, when we were sort of in the school, and we learned, and those are generic basic values we have to live with. But as we kind of go through experiences that Kriti just said, right, there is no one thing that probably serves us all the time, and it's about seeing what is giving me peace of mind, right? And as long as that is there, that's what matters. I have a friend of mine, and let me just give you this example. And that person, right, started photography as a hobby. So just very randomly, I mean, like picked a camera, picked some lens, and I remember both of us going to one place where we didn't know the works of the camera, and we were just trying to shoot, and we had a lot of funny moments that time. Because we were going to this, let me tell you this. So we were going to this place where there are these deer kind of things, and we wanted to shoot them, and we lost our way completely. We had to actually go up the lighthouse to figure out where we are, and we thought we were all pros. We heard we heard a sound, and we thought the black bugs are actually hitting each other with their horns, and we were running towards that to only find that somebody was actually breaking wooden logs, and it was not black bugs fighting. But that's how it started. But today, that person, photography has become a part and parcel of life. That is a value, because that person knows so much about birds, so much about tigers, and a lot of what decisions he's making or she's making for life is actually driven through birding. Can actually, what started as a simple hobby is now listens to sounds and can say exactly which bird it is, and also will explain. I'm very peaceful when I'm in conversation with a person, because a bird sound and says this is what this bird is. This bird's name is shikara. This shikara bird will never sort of like scavenge, has to hunt and only eat. This is this bird, and that person also finds if birds are actually in a territory fight, if that's happening. I mean, look, how much do like I really can read? If there are some birds sort of doing that, I'll be like, yeah, birds, right? And that's something that may not serve me, but that does not necessarily mean if it's serving somebody else, it is to be belittled, or we kind of have an opinion, or we judge, or whatever it may be. So it could be anything. For some people, it's about riding, right? They go on long rides. They want to invest in super bikes, right? And from the outside, it may look like fleecing money. Like you have a lot of money, you're a spendthrift and whatnot, and yada yada yada. But I think if they can go for one ride once a month and come back, they are a better son, they are a better father, they are a better brother, they are a better friend, they are a better human being, because they are able to relate to that, and that's a value they will probably derive from having that action or what they do, right? So thanks a lot for sharing that piece. And what I want to sort of say is that where we are right now is that we have a lot of values. We need to filter them to values that serve me. And of course, there is that question that is outstanding as to how do we do it, which I have not gone into yet. And where we sort of end up is that, what's very important for me to know is that awareness of the values that serve me. This is the third and most important word that I wanted to bring today as well. So there are three words, right? Today, if you can take away values that serve and the awareness of those values that serve me. The more and more we are aware of the values that are serving me, every action of mine will be defined by that. Every action will give me satisfaction. And I know we are all in a stage of, again, let's look at what's happening outside, pandemic pressures and whatnot. Even if it means we are going to be cocooned in our house, if we are able to be aware of the values that serve us, I think we can find our happiness, because there is something that we will be looking forward to that will stop us. There will be something that will be looking forward to that will help us make the right decisions, even if we are not able to do that right away. And that's what is something, that awareness of those values at every point in time, ladies and gentlemen, will give you a peace that you can operate from, where you're constantly in a state of satisfaction. I wouldn't say happiness, but maybe satisfaction, in life, which you can go through. And something that, another thing that I want to go to before we come to the how do I kind of do that, is remembering the value system, right? This is what came to me. This may be in Google, but this really struck me, and that is why I sort of put this together for all of us. Is we are all driven by values. That's what starts with when we are fed at home, when we are in school and all that. Those values drive an action. Okay, our actions are driven by values. And when through those actions, we have an experience that we go through. And those experiences sort of again add back into the values. They feed into the values for us to reflect on, what is this serving me now or not? It may have served me in the past. Now it is not serving me. In my case, as I said, the tangible versus intangibles, right? There was a time when tangibles served me. And there is a part of me that always thinks that I need to do a little bit of a product business, because, maybe that value still doesn't want to let go of me. But right now that value is not serving me, and it's okay to keep that aside. So being aware of this itself will help us, I feel, to a great extent, that all our actions are actually driven by values. The anger that we show, the way we communicate with somebody, what deeds we do. And as we do all that, there are some experiences that we accumulate, and those experiences again feeds into the value. And this, I feel, is a value system that we all operate with. Not 100% foolproof, ladies and gentlemen, but something that came to me in my mind, and I thought I will share it with all of you. This is what helps, right? So that's the value system piece, awareness piece, which I think is super important for us as to what are the values that really serve us. Now the how part of it, as to what to do, right? Again, I'll have to switch roles from moving from a coach to being either a speaker or a trainer over here. But I will caveat it with certain, maybe two things that come to my mind as we speak, right now. Two things that come to my mind that helps me, and it may or may not help others, right? Is what do I do, right? One is, or not that I'm doing, and when I say I do it, believe me, I'm not a perfectionist. I don't do it perfectly, and I suffer from the fact of being a perfectionist. It was a value that I held very close to me, and now I'm letting go of it, because I'm seeing that the value of perfection is not helping me as much. And it's beautiful. The journey is beautiful as I'm moving away from perfection, and I'm okay with it. I've come to terms with it, for example. So one thing is reflection itself. So every night when I sort of, go to bed, we have always taught about prayers. And one thing that I'm doing beyond that is really sitting, trying to push the rewind button, go back up to the time I got up, and replay the entire day to the extent possible. Try doing it. There will be pretty much in the beginning, huge chunks of the day we will miss. We will totally miss. But when you continuously do that, we are relooking at some conversations, and they are actually talking to us. They are giving us meaning that, that is important for us. There are certain conversations or the certain interactions that you regret. So it gives you an opportunity to apologize to somebody before you go to bed. Not that they are asking for an apology. They don't care. It's about me, self-care, self-love that I want. Somebody actually sort of lent a shoulder to me through the day to kind of talk through. I want to thank them for what that is. I want to pray for them for, what they did. And, I heard about somebody, who's actually sort of going through a rough patch. And when you rewind and replay, what I'm trying to say is that conversation in your mind will start giving you a lot of little fine-tuned messages. That filtering happens. And that helps you when you wake up the next day morning. Something may strike, something may not strike. You may try doing this and you may get more agonized, and you may feel like taking the phone, calling me and telling, why the hell did you do this to me? I'm a lot more messed up than what I was before I came to your session. Please do that. Please call me, tell me that. But that is what you have to go through probably before you can, get to the values that you can be aware of that serve you. And one thing I heard very recently, a beautiful thing from somebody who I revere a lot, like I look up to him. He's one of the most important person I look up to in life. And he was giving a beautiful analogy. And I just want to share it with all of you, right? In Tamil Nadu or Kerala, right? Temples. And almost all temples in Kerala, most temples in Tamil Nadu will have one beautiful feature of elephants. Each temple will have an elephant associated with it, and there are some temples that have many elephants associated. And that elephant will be standing, outside the entrance. So first, when it comes, it's new to the place, etc. Fine, but then what happens is after a point of time, it gets used to the place. Right? It's like natural place for me. I know this place and everything. And there are two things of the elephant that never are stagnant. Right? Its ears and its trunk. Ears are okay, but the trunk not being quiet is a problem for others. So what it will do is, when it is used to the place, somebody is going in a cycle, it will pull the carrier off. Somebody is standing and having a conversation with their bag, it will try to see what's in the bag and try to pull the bag out. Or do certain things, right? And it will be troubling people, push somebody off the cycle, somebody gets scared when it will just try, or whatever it's there to eat, it will put it on itself. So the Mahot, what he does that time is, he'll keep telling, don't do it, but when it doesn't do it, he picks up a massive iron chain, really heavy iron chain, and he just puts it on the trunk. Now the elephant has to hold that chain and stand. Because of that weight, it's not able to, do everything. So the awareness of what values that serve me, for that, I think the first thing that we have to do is really figure out, what is it? I am the Mahot, I am the elephant. What is that one thing that I want to concentrate on? It could be anything. Some of us call it faith. It could be a particular type of music. It could be meditation. It could be yoga. It could be sort of, chanting. Whatever it may be, whatever serves you. You have to figure out what that massive iron chain is for you. Put it. Right? And once you start focusing, awareness starts building around what values are serving me, what are not serving me. Requires practice is what I would say. And doesn't kind of, come, because what happens is, over the number of years of experience that we've had, we've sort of had a lot of experiences. So our mind is always outside. So it's always kind of looking outside. And for me to recognize the values that serve me, I need to turn that a little bit. And it's like turning a massive ship immediately. You can't. You just cannot. Right? It takes some time for the ship to turn. So, but we have to keep trying. We have to keep steering. And the more we steer, the more we are able to reflect upon what are the values that really serve me. And why I felt, ladies and gentlemen, this is important today is that, as I said, if we are able to recognize what values that serve me, every action of ours will be effective. Our conversation with our loved ones will be really through real love. Not that it is not there right now, but when you experience that rich love in conversations, it's a huge difference. There will be a tremendous amount of clarity one can get out of in terms of what to do next, where they are right now. And really, as I said, like operate from a space of satisfaction, holistic satisfaction, because you know that these values are serving me and I'm doing it. There are no right or wrong answers. That's what we need to understand first. We spend a lot of time judging others' area of operation. What's very important is that's the ship that is going, steering away, which has to be steered towards driving or generating awareness of the values that serve. So that was the reason, that I thought, this would be useful for us today to understand and, please don't look at this as another session where you have to listen and then we get on with our Sundays, right? Spend some time reflecting, and that's why we have named it aptly the reflection lane, because it gives us time for us to reflect. And what I am looking forward to is to ensure people go back and reflect a lot more in their own individual spaces. Any thoughts, comments, questions, anything anybody wants to bring about on the awareness part, on the cycle that I spoke about, values to actions to experience?
Hi Raghavan. It's
You have
Rahul.
about 10 minutes, open to all.
Hi Raghavan, it's Rahul here.
Sure.
I think it was pretty much more or less when you spoke about the value factors. I think it was more like what it's going to help or how is it going to serve me here. But today's situation or currently what we're seeing is more of people being selfish and trying to see how they can get benefited out of it. So I think this particular session, actually, as you rightly said, it cannot happen overnight. I think the change has to happen over the due course. That's absolutely true. But at the same time, I think you specifically mentioned one point wherein you said that a simple conversation with your loved ones can get much richer when you actually start valuing those and things. But I think that's absolutely agreed. And I think this particular course has definitely gonna bring in a lot of reflections among this group is what I feel. Yeah, I think it's good.
Thanks, Rahul. Anybody has any thoughts, comments, anything you disagree with? Feel free. We have 10 minutes.
Not about disagreeing, but there's one point I'd definitely like to thank you, Raghavan, about is when I started off and when we were talking about this, that you're going to do this, and I was looking forward to kind of, yeah, that'll be a good thing to do as a group. But I was thinking I do reflect already, but what these discussions are helping, and today's session particularly as well, I'll call that out because it's giving us different lenses to reflect upon ourselves, right? Reflection in general is fine, we all do in some shape or form while sitting with ourselves, maybe structured, not structured, but sometimes we miss to look at it from different lenses, and looking at it from this value system and them driving our actions and experiences, and then going in that circle, that reflection, that particular piece that you shared there was really helpful, because it helps us think and understand our actions better and understands our decisions better, and probably sometimes judge ourselves little lesser than we do sometimes, right? We end up judging, saying, oh, I did this, it didn't feel right, I think I was not doing it right, it might have impacted someone else differently and all of that. But when we look at it from this lens and try to understand the value system that drove our action and the experience we had, and then how it impacted our value system again, it really helps us reflect on ourselves and in our journey much better and much richer in general. Thanks a lot.
Interesting. No, thank you for all of you, because you're all bringing in a lot of thoughts into this. So it's not just about me.
Thanks, Raghavan. Naveen, this side. Two things just to like call out, right? The first thing about knowing like something like working today may not like working tomorrow for me. So assessing that like value, and that is something that's very important, and time to time it needs to review, and you have to look to change, right? You give an example of yourself from perfectness to just accept there is like flaws. So that is really like touch upon me. And the other thing is very beautifully you put it, when you're going to go back to your sleep, and just before that, just review your day, like, and just like visualize the day from you woke up till you go for bed, like what exactly that you do for entire day, and what exactly worked for you and what didn't work for you. Probably like that is something that I'm going to follow. So really thank you so much, Raghav, so for that. That's it. I just like want to share two things.
Thanks, Naveen. I'll still tell you that, too early to thank. See whether that helps you. If it helps, great. Let me know.
Actually, yeah, certainly. And that's all I was always looking, right? The step-by-step approach, right? So that is like, for me, like I said, like maybe it's different from others, like but for me at least, like this might be a first step for me. So that's what I want to try. Yeah. Thanks for that, Raghav.
Anybody else? Anybody who's not spoken, because I've been hearing to people who are regularly speaking. Anybody else, just feel free to shoot your thoughts out, because I think we all learn together. If the more the merrier.
Yeah, Raghavan, Manjula here. Yeah, thanks for the session. It was very useful and very helpful in like, it is not that, as you rightly mentioned, we would be sticking to 100 values. Like the day like progresses, we'll be prioritizing this value could be best for us, this value could be better, and this value we have to leave, as in like 100 thoughts and 100 values would be coming up over the mind. But this session, which helped us to understand and how we have to channelize our values and what is serving better. It was a very clear thought, and maybe it is going to like open up more thoughts and more focus on how we have to and which value is going to serve efficiently in achieving our goal or whatever success.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for that.
No, thank you for sharing your thoughts. Quite powerful. That was, I thought. One last thought, anybody?
Hi Raghavan, this is Saira here.
Yes, I know.
So I could relate to this session because honesty is something, I have had has a value from a very long time, but whether it serves me or not, that is a different question, because many times, me being honest, right, I have been called as Satyavadi Harishchandra, and not like, every time it serves. But being in a service industry, many times honesty, what do you say, for example, when it comes to appraisals or hikes or this time, right, we have to be very politically correct. And at that point of time, right, this value of mine, honesty, always doesn't let me sleep well. Like, sometimes you need to carry your appraisals with people who are under you, or they hike conversation in such a way that it doesn't hurt them. But this is something, I always be in a dilemma, like, whether I have done it correctly, I should have spoken it honestly. So this is something which I think about. And today you were talking about that how the elephant put that chain, right? So I was thinking, like, what I can do to realize, where I do stop, being honest, or like, what is it? So yeah, it is a very difficult journey to realize, and how we can make it better to improve ourselves. So this is something, I realize, but yeah, as you said, we don't have all the answers to, and we need to think about it. And yeah, this was very helpful, to take my thought process. And also I could relate to Kirti and Vikas, right? Yeah, sometimes, being honest to ourselves is more important. And I'm not sure, but yeah, this is what is my thought process as of now. Thank you so much for this session.
No, thank you. And yeah, life is a difficult journey, but it is also a beautiful one. So enjoy through the difficulties. Don't lose sight of the wonder that it also brings together. Thanks a lot, Sahira, for actually sharing that. And with that very strong and powerful thought Sahira left us with, I think we are on dot at 12 noon. Like from last time, I've started sharing just notes on the back of the session, and also a feedback form. A very humble request, please take, I'm not having like 40 questions, just 4 questions, is what, so that it helps me realize or recognize as to, like which way I am headed also. So, and we can make these sessions much better as we move forward. So please, take just it'll take you less than 3 minutes to fill that up. There has been some conversation about the timing of this session also, so there is going to be an option for you to select that also if there has to be a change in the timing. So really looking forward to that feedback. Have a wonderful rest of the Sunday and rest of the next week that is coming up for you. Stay safe, take care, And thank you very much for your time being on the Reflection Lane. See you again next month, third Sunday of May 2021. Bye-bye, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.